Welcome to Sit Down and Cheer, episode number 65. This week's guest, Tim Hennessy. It's official, weekends are now reserved for football, so come watch it at B-Dubs with other fans who are all there for the same reason, to watch sports. In a place packed with roaring fans and a vast menu of food, it's built for fans, it's home for football, it's Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Mitch, anything to add?
Yes. You should take the little bus that they have here to go over to the home hockey games. It leaves half an hour before tip-off. So you come here, you don't have to worry about parking.
Tip-off?
Oh, they don't do it for basketball.
I thought you liked the sports.
And then they have to
face-off.
Score the puck.
You hate that, don't you?
Score the ball.
Score the basketball. You hate that, don't you?
I don't understand
whatever.
Ball screen.
It's a half hour before the game starts. They take a bus over there. You park here. They haul you over there. They haul you back. Hockey games only. Let's not get confused now.
Score
Just
the puck.
hockey. All home hockey games, they have a bus.
You rebound
a free
the
bus
ball.
ride to and from men's hockey games. So, here you go.
Got it.
That's a good way to just
You're
phase you
sounding
out of the
good
show.
over here.
Yeah, we just kind of fixed the glitch.
Sounding good over here.
Tim, thanks for squeezing us in.
Yeah.
Your busy day.
No
Have you
problem.
caught up on, is your sleep cycle back to normal yet?
Yep, I think I was
Really?
the worst was Tuesday, I think. I was really
What day is
dragging
it today?
by the end of Tuesday.
Oh, it's Thursday already.
Yeah.
Today.
Not so much Sunday I was tired,
Yeah.
but I think that's just from me.
Well, you had to work the show Monday morning?
Yeah. It wasn't bad, but I say Tuesday seemed to catch up to me.
When did you guys get back
the fog.
Sunday? Late?
4:30.
Yeah.
They broke it up into two groups this time, which is we don't usually do. So instead of giving the GF at 11:30, we got in at 4:30. But by the time Saturday's game ended and we finished working, and I mean we didn't leave our room, but I think I got 2-3 hours sleep
Yeah, about
before
3.
the alarm went off for our early flight. Full flight.
Whole flight.
Dodged the middle seat though. That was clutch.
That's big.
On the way down, I had 2 giant men sitting in the same row as me, and
What
on
do
the
you
way
mean?
back, I had a giant woman sitting in the middle seat next to me.
We pounded out a lot of movies on those flights, though. I watched a documentary on movie scores and one on the director of Rocky and Karate Kid. Mitch, you got to watch that one.
Really?
It's outstanding.
Huh.
It's
I
so
watched
good.
the one on Chuck Wepner.
Yeah, I want to see that one
That
too.
was good.
How do I know that name?
He's
He's a heavyweight boxer,
Inspired
Yep,
Rocky.
Yep.
Yeah. Went the distance with Muhammad Ali.
and he made sure everyone knew that Rocky was made after him, or that he was
Yep.
He was the model
the
for
real
Rocky.
Rocky. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Legend has it, Sylvester Stallone was at a Wepner, I think at the Wepner Ali fight, and he had gone the distance. Might have even knocked down Ali, which
Yeah.
hadn't happened at the time,
Ali,
or was very rare.
Ali said he stepped on his toes or
Yeah.
something. That's why he fell down.
That's good. So, Alaska,
Anyway.
what were your impressions of the trip, of what you saw on the ice?
It was an easy trip. I mean, comparatively speaking, there's
Yeah.
been times when that thing's taken 7
You better
hours.
knock on wood now.
Nothing went wrong on it, really.
But I mean, the flights were fast, so
Yeah.
you're not sitting on a plane going, "Oh, good Lord."
TV helps.
It's going to be a 4-day
Yeah.
trip to Omaha now because you said that.
Usually is anyway. So.
I don't think there were TVs on the flight last time we made that
No.
trip, and that makes a difference.
That was, that's a lifesaver.
Yeah.
That is.
Yep.
And if you're Schlossman, you got all 3 going on different channels because there's nobody on your flight.
What a charmed life he lives.
Oh, man.
Seriously.
That's something. I thought there was. I didn't know how good Alaska was going to be, and I still
Right.
don't know how good Alaska is. Not a lot
Apparently
of
their
skill.
goaltender is pretty good.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
very good. He's
Yeah.
been their MVP for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their coach said that a lot of games, if they've been close in anything in the league in the last couple of years, most of it's because of him. So,
There are games where you'll lose 1-0, 2-1, whatever, and you're shooting into the goalie's logo all night.
Yeah.
This was not a series where
No.
that was the case. He was legitimately spectacular.
You were actually mad that the one save he made was number 2 on the top 10
Yeah.
list.
NCAA
Top 5
did their
list.
plays of the week, and he was number 2.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
what was the
save.
first one?
It was a diving overtime goal.
Yeah. He's falling to the
yeah,
ice as
yeah,
he,
yeah.
yeah. Is that Bowling Green? What was that? I don't remember. what it
Colgate?
was.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Well, Cam's save got in there.
That was
Yeah.
number
In
the top
3
10.
or 4.
Good work by you, David Folsky.
Yeah, well done.
Good upload. Solid work. Mid-season form.
See,
Yeah, and Cam didn't have a lot of work, but man, he was
You had that. I had him the start of the game on Saturday or Friday night.
He was probably the star of the overtime. That game's, he's got to be your best penalty killer in a 5-on-3, and they killed it.
But especially to sit down the other end of the ice, freezing your feet, falling asleep, you never see the puck, and then you're going to get a couple chances, and then so that's hard for a goalie to stay into a game like that.
He even mentioned too in his post-game interview that another thing that creeps in your mind is watching your counterpart do his thing, steal the show. That creeps into your mindset too as the opposing goalie, which I thought was interesting.
They're goofy.
I'm an unabashed Cam Johnson fan, and I won't apologize for it.
You don't have to.
He's good people. So, well, you mentioned not knowing what Alaska Anchorage was going to be. I'm not even sure we knew what UND was going to be.
Right.
And we probably still don't, but far more good than bad, I thought.
What I was, I think, most impressed with was Shane Gossage. And even though he hasn't scored,
right,
and had one chance that Mitch, David, me could have put in the net.
Wrong-handed,
that you almost have to try to miss it.
Well, you talked to him about that, you said,
yeah,
right?
I said, give you that shot 100 times again. How many times you put it in the net? He said 100.
Well, so what happened?
He was right on top of the crease, gets the pass, and flipped it over the net.
Wide open net, and he put it high.
Oh, boy.
There was no way in the net.
Yeah.
Flipped right over. I think it may have grazed the crossbar.
That's his story.
But
so what impressed you about him? That he didn't get frustrated?
No, I think last year you had Tyson Jost, you had Brock Besser, and I think he kind of got put in the shadows of those guys. Mm-hmm. And so you really didn't know how good he was. And now I think you're finding out he's pretty damn good.
If we're going to have a game breaker this year, he's the one.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And he flashed that against Manitoba, and you never know how to interpret that, but he flashed it in Alaska too.
Yep. And I like his maturity.
Yeah.
From freshman year to now, it's always kind of fun to watch how guys. Mm-hmm. And he's a different guy now. I think he's much more focused, and I think he probably realizes how good he can be and what he's going to mean to this team, and I think that means something to him. So I guess he was one of the things that impressed me. And then the Kierstead kid back on defense.
It's got some moxie.
Not afraid to play.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the two freshmen were out of the lineup Saturday night, because all the other freshmen, Colin Adams and Nick Jones to a point, not a freshman, but those guys played their game Friday night. I thought Mismash and Kawaguchi were tentative. And just go play your game.
Things seem to be moving a little quickly for
them.
So
was there anything to that? Just the lineup shift on Saturday, or just he wanted to get everybody a chance to?
No, I think
get some action.
He was not impressed with how they played, and he knew he had guys that were ready to go.
Yeah.
So
you've got three hungry dogs. Like
and you got
Cole
win.
and Zakian and Gornall.
You don't win that one, and you're behind the 8 ball already.
Well, and that's what we've heard all preseason too, is that they have so much depth that even guys, at that end of the roster, they're going to be,
And Cole Smith made the play to win. Casey scored the goal, but Cole Smith made that play. A really good finesse, skilled, patient play.
Yeah, he's not the first guy you'd expect to make that play.
No, and he did his whole post-game interview with his zipper wide open. So
that's where you're supposed to help him out.
He's not handling success well just yet.
Did he give you my eyes are up here? Oh, that's not good.
So what other takeaways did you have for some of the newcomers? You mentioned Kawaguchi.
I thought Mismash and Kawaguchi were kind of just not there. I wasn't impressed, but I was more impressed with them against Manitoba.
Yeah.
And you can see the skill. You certainly see the hands that Mismash has. He's got
that Manitoba game can be a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? That can set you up to fail early on if you're a freshman, because things come a little easier in that game, especially as you wear them down as the game goes on. And
I think Bubs is telling them right now, trying to drive through the point that St. Lawrence is going to be better than either one of them.
Yep.
And then you're going to get next week, and they're going to be better than everybody else. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to get into league play, and so they're going to do nothing but get tougher. So you better get used to it now.
Yeah, it's a crescendo here as we go into the conference season for sure.
We weren't able to practice at Sullivan on Thursday. We couldn't skate in there until game day skate Friday morning, and we showed up at the arena, and the ice isn't ready. The glass isn't installed yet.
What?
They had some sort of Christmas concert in there Thursday night, which is why we had to practice at the adjoining rink.
Christmas?
And
what's the hour? How many hours?
40 minutes to
I don't know,
game.
Lori line or
I'm sure
something.
it's its first stop on the tour, North
Lord.
American tour. That ice did not look like it was going to be ready in 40 minutes. They pulled it off. It wasn't great Friday night.
And it wasn't. It's even Matt Thomas, the Alaska coach, said Saturday. He said the ice was lousy. He said, if that's good ice, he says we probably get beat by 3.
Interesting. You could see it. You could see the skill guys fighting the puck, and just things were just a little bit off, and that was
kind of even things out a little bit for the.
Don't give anybody ideas to gum up the ice here against us.
Gum up. Little Dan Hammer tribute there.
They do that though. Blazer would do it.
Heavy pitch.
Are you kidding? Anything it takes.
Yeah, I've heard a few of those stories. Not ice, but other things.
3 weeks.
Right?
And I thought, other than a couple times coughing up the puck, the blue line structurally played much better than they did against Manitoba.
I thought they played a lot better defensively as a team.
Yep.
Considering they're possessing the puck the whole time. It's pretty easy to start losing focus on when the other team gets in and starts coming back. But I thought they did a great job there. And I thought a good weekend defensively when I thought Colton Poolman was just maybe average.
Might have been trying to do a little bit too much, yeah.
You know? And Willanna was very good.
Yeah.
Shaw was steady, I thought. Casey Johnson was steady. Pesky, I think, can be better. We saw him better last year, the second half of last year. So, yeah, and Kirsta, I was impressed with him.
And they had to be active offensively, too, against a team like Anchorage. You need to activate the D-man into the rush and try to bust that.
Well, that was the other thing. Those guys, you get, what's not that difficult to forecheck because that team would get in the defense's zone,
sag,
just collapse around the net. And, I mean, what do we have, 170 shot attempts or something on the weekend?
They had like 24 Saturday.
Yeah, attempts. And so they had a lot of blocks by the forwards and defensemen and such. So I don't know. We'll know more this weekend. St. Lawrence is going to be better.
They have the ability or the potential this year to throw some bottom six combinations at teams that could be really hard to play against. We saw, was it Jan, Bowen,
7,
and
8,
Nick Jones, which could be just miserable to play with if they're clicking.
They're fast, tenacious, and there's some skill there too.
Yeah.
And I thought Zach Jan, who didn't play the first night either, was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked his wheels, And
good heavy shot too.
Bowie is Bowie. Just what I think we knew he'd be, just like his old man, maybe a little more skilled than his old man was. But
you're already thinking of line names here? 7, 8, 9, that's a thing?
No.
Oh.
No, but that's their numbers.
I know, but I'm always thinking about stuff
yes,
like that.
you are. Some of them are good.
Speaking of
not bad.
Dixon's old man, he'll be playing Saturday afternoon in the alumni game against
I
the
hear there's
87.
going to be a very
that.
closed to the public reunion game from those guys.
I think you know how to get in the rink.
Yeah.
And I bet Hrkac scores about 58 goals.
I'll bet there's nobody that can stop him yet.
I bet he can still play.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. I don't know if he can do a pull-up.
That's okay, I can't either.
For those unaware, UND will be honoring the 1987 NCAA championship team Saturday night at the Ralph. Good handful of the guys are coming back for that.
Yeah,
which is
like
great to see.
18 out of 26, something like that.
So what are you looking forward to? What are your memories when you first think of that team? Where do you even start?
I know. It was just it was a riot. The Hrkac Circus, and everybody came out to see the Hrkac Circus, and he never disappointed. That was the thing.
Yeah.
And his game was.
But it wasn't just him. Joyce, all those other guys. Like, you look at their stats, you're just like,
for all
no
Americans.
one's ever touching those stats ever again.
I mean, it was almost like Gretzky because people would be hollering when you're in the opposition rink, hello, and well, you try. It's a lot easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
And he was just a treat to watch. And Bobby Joyce was a bull on the wall and could score goals. And Steve Johnson picked up a lot of the garbage. He could shoot the puck. But Ian Kidd was a highly skilled defenseman, didn't have great feet. And I think that's why he never made it in the NHL. And Mary Barron was just a horse. How big that guy was. My goodness. I remember him on the airplanes. He'd pack a lunch, literally. He'd have 4 or 5 sandwiches in a bag.
Oh, man.
You sit next to him, and he just sloshing them down. Big guy. But it was fun, and watching practice with Ed Belfour used to snap.
He had some Eidesness.
Oof. He'd chase guys around the rink. Puck came too close to his head.
Was he highly touted coming in? Obviously, no one expects future Hockey Hall of Fame inductee, but what was the book on him coming in?
Trying
Do you
to
remember?
think of who the other goaltender was that he actually was a backup to. The other one went to Wisconsin. And I'm trying to remember who that might have been. You could look
On the 87 team?
He played in Wisconsin in 87.
His junior partner.
His junior partner. And Gino always liked Ed. In fact, I think he said back then, he said, they can have him. I want this one. And he was good. He didn't have to be great, I didn't think, because they were so good offensively
You knew
and
they'd
defensively.
outscore. Yeah. He had the Grant Fuhr job of
But he
just
took care of business.
stop the big one.
And of course, he went on and had a heck of a career, Hall of Fame career in the NHL for that matter.
Do you think his plan was to be here just the 1 year? Or just the fact that they had such a good, he had to...
I think it probably
the
was
next-
the money
Yeah.
as much as anything. And plus he was 21, 22.
Yeah.
Someone that was a little older and found the opportunity as a free agent, right?
Right.
So there wasn't any of the restrictions on first contracts.
Probably not going to have a better season than that if you keep playing. So
Yeah.
strike while the iron's hot, probably.
They lost, 8 games that year?
40-8.
And one of them was to U.S. International.
That's it. Yeah. Was that here?
It was the last game before Christmas
Was
break.
Matt Shaw
Just
on
glad
that
there
team?
wasn't the internet back then.
I don't know. Maybe he was.
Here, I'll Google. You guys babble.
Could look that up. But yeah, I remember.
Google, I'll babble.
I was angry. So this,
That game counted? It wasn't an
Oh,
exhibition
sure.
back then?
it's non-conference.
Did Twitter melt down that night in 1987?
No, I melted down.
Ugh.
And then after the game, I went down to talk to Gino and saw that he wasn't melting down, that it was just whatever.
Yeah.
He wasn't bothered by it that much, because as I say, it was the last game before they get Christmas vacation,
Right.
and they were going to beat everybody anyway.
Did you find it already?
Yeah. Matt Shaw was a sophomore defenseman on that
He
U.S.
was.
international team.
Yeah, I think I've asked Matt about that.
2 goals, 55 penalty minutes. 33
In that
games.
game?
That might be a record.
That'd be a record.
55. I'm kind of envious that you used to have road trips to San Diego.
They were good.
Were they?
I
How
think-
did they draw?
I think, we only went there once.
Okay.
Now that you mention it. It was the Mira Mesa House of Ice, was the name of the rink. Ask Matt, he'll tell you about the Mira Mesa House of Ice. And it was kind of, almost reminded me of the practice rink at Omaha, because it was glass, a lot of glass around it. But I remember once, I was over for a practice, and I went out, walked out, it was kind of up on a hill somewhere, I think, if I remember. And went out, and this was probably, Ludwig was playing, so it had to be early
Early 80s.
80s. And over hill looking the bay, and the fleet was going out.
No kidding.
Wow, was that impressive.
Huh.
Holy man. That was,
Yeah,
we
we-
got to the hotel, and was Craig Ludwig and Mike Stone were roommates. And so we get to the hotel, and we're going to go to dinner, I think. So Gino said, meet down in the lobby at whatever time. So everybody's got their polo shirts on, whatever. And down out of the elevator comes Ludwig and Stone with Bermuda shorts and flower shirts and flip-flops.
Full on Haji and June mode, huh?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, Gino went nuts. They had to go back up and change, but a couple of characters, those were.
Well, and you mentioned the 87 team being such a blast, and Gino was the coach that year too. But I just looked this up this morning. The entire coaching staff was Gino, Dean Blaze, John Marks, Cary Eades.
Yeah.
In hindsight, that's a Mount Rushmore right there.
Yeah.
But 4 giant personalities.
Oh.
How did you keep those guys out of trouble on the road?
It wasn't easy. It really wasn't. I mean, there were a few times I had to step between John and Dean. I think I told you that on a racquetball court. And I'm in between them. I'm thinking, what an idiot I am.
I don't think I've heard the racquetball
In
one.
between these two. Oh,
Were you guys playing cutthroat or what? Or double?
yeah. And Blazer would, if he was losing, he'd whack one in Marksy's back. just on purpose.
J.C. Field.
Or in the back of his head or something. Pretty soon it was they were going to go, oh, jeez.
So you put 3 guys in a racquetball court?
Yeah.
There's not even room for 2. How do you
It's
get...
tough. When Marty and I are in there, or Powell, it's tough. There's a lot of beef.
I can imagine Blazing Marks and me.
Some big men. Yeah.
That was quite a crew, that was. And they enjoyed things. They enjoyed life.
How did they approach the players on that team? Were they loose? Did they let the guys be the guys? Or did they rein them in a lot? What was
Gino
the
was
philosophy?
the bad guy.
Yeah.
But they also knew that both John and Dean, at a given time, don't cross them, because they could come unglued and they'd hurt you. I mean, it was and unless Rick was speaking, I heard you, Rick Wilson, when he was assistant in 79, 80, whenever he was an assistant, Rick's a big guy, right?
Yep.
And I remember they were playing Wisconsin. It was a playoff game. It was best total score, 2-game total goals. And they were down like 3 goals going into the second game. And they got down 2-0 or something in that game. And they came storming back and they ended up winning, I think, 5-4 or something like that. And after the game, Brad Cox, I went down and I said, gotcha, that was quite a comeback by you guys. Well, we were scared to death. Rick came in and he started yelling and throwing stuff around. And we weren't afraid, that we were going to lose. We were afraid of him. So they've had some big guys as assistant coaches.
You told me a story once, maybe it was Cary Eades would sit in the press box during games at one point as an assistant and came down and missed a tongue lashing, I think, from Gino. Came in right after it ended. Does that ring a bell or not? Maybe Hrkac or someone told me that story and gave it the old, did I miss something? Tables were overturned and Gatorade or water all over the floor. Maybe that was someone else.
Cary was active in the press box.
Was he?
The old press box at the old Ralph.
Did your Nat Sound pick him up?
Yeah, I had like these ceiling tiles, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of cracker board or whatever you want to call it. He jumped up, punching it, and then he punched that, and then the dust and all the stuff that comes down on our table because he was right in the booth next to us.
Asbestos everywhere.
We had to cuff the mic like this. And he got charged in Wisconsin. They sent him a bill.
Well, anything that Cary Eades does in Wisconsin is probably...
Because he kicked the wall, and he's got that perforated metal behind the press box there, that's in that booth. And apparently he dented it, which there's like 1 million dents in it. And they sent him a bill for kicking it.
Did he pay it?
I don't know if he ever did or not. Oh, yeah, he was a legend in Wisconsin after the bench clear that he started. Good stuff.
Who are some of the guys coming back this weekend that you really haven't seen for a number of years?
Well, I haven't seen. I heard Mickey Crumpetich is coming back. And it was funny last night. The coaching show, I asked Brad Berry, I said, "What is Mickey doing?" He said, "I don't know. I just know he's living in northern Minnesota." I said, "Maybe he's living with Mark Pavlich and off the land or something." I don't know. But I haven't seen Mickey. I don't think since probably 1987.
Wow.
Of course, Colbert's around all the time, and Jeff Bowen's around all the time, and seen Eddie a few times, actually several times. Hrkac we've seen a lot.
Yep.
He comes back as in working, and see Steve Johnson all the time. Obviously, he's in town. I'm trying to think who else I see. Ian Kidd, haven't seen him the last couple times in Duluth though, but used to usually see him there because he has that bakery, bread shop.
Yeah, wasn't he partners with Lee Davidson? Or
I think Lee ended up partnering up with him, but Kidder started it. And who else? I haven't seen Murray Barron for many years. I'm trying to think of who else was on that team. Was Mel Parks on that team?
Yeah, I think
haven't
so,
seen him in 100 years. Brent Bobyck. Now there's a beauty. Do a podcast with Brent Bobyck sometime.
Chris Lee would have to come with,
Fine Regina Ladd. Yeah. Were you in Grand Forks then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 87 was the team that kind of got me going on hockey. We moved to Grand Forks in 85. And then, everything, like heavy metal hockey in 87, it was a big deal. Remember that? Brent
came out at team back from somewhere sometime or something, and had shaved his entire upper body. I don't know why.
Oh, Lord.
And then after he was out of here, he sent me a postcard, a picture.
I'm guessing
one time.
mid-'80s, that wasn't really a thing.
I don't think
No.
He sent me a picture one time of him laying. Have you ever seen the picture of the Budweiser girls in swimsuits that match up to say Budweiser?
I would never look at something like that.
I mean, there's three or four of them laying there, and combined on their suit, it says Budweiser, right, when they're laying together.
Yeah.
And he was right in the middle of the floor. How do you like this? Well, then he met a young lady playing in England, an English gal, and she's a sweetheart, and married him, I think, maybe straighten him out a little bit.
Calmed him down. We all need that.
But that was the greatest line from Gino about Brent Bobyck. What do you think of Brent Bobyck? 100 miles an hour in a closet.
It always
fly.
It always fascinates me, like Ed Belfour, who was here just 1 year and achieved as decorated a career as any hockey player could ever hope to have. Olympics, Hall of Fame, Stanley Cups, awards, everything. Only played here 1 year, but he comes back. He's been back several times. And every time he talks about you, Indy, you can tell he genuinely has an affection. You hear it with Tyson Jost here too, who was only here for a year, and that always fascinates me that you could develop that attachment in 1 year.
It's interesting too, isn't it, that Eddie doesn't mind writing a check.
Yeah. The old locker room at the old Ralph, right?
At a given time. I mean, there are many times when they needed something that they've knocked on his door, and he says, "Sure." And then
doesn't need the world to know about it.
No,
either.
oh, absolutely not. And I think there's been others that probably went through here 4 years that don't see anything from it. Just a different breed, and Eddie just happens to be one of those. Is he starting a whiskey company?
That vaguely rings a bell.
I have to ask him about that. He was going to start a distillery or something, have his own whiskey. Maybe bring samples.
Ooh.
I'm in.
If he's not in race cars anymore.
Might have to wave a press box rule or two this weekend.
So what will it parade those guys like through the press box? You get a chance to talk to them on air, or what's the plan for those guys?
I've been told to go through Jeff Bowen. He's their handler. So what could go wrong?
Okay, find Jeff at the Broken Drum or
And
Judy.
I do owe Bowie a call back. I see he called me today, so I do have to call him back. But because we did get some media requests for some of those guys, and I know a couple of them don't love spending their free time doing all that. They don't seek it out. Yeah. They're very private, so we'll see what we can do. But I think we're going to try and get a couple guys on Midco, and I'm sure you're going to wrangle a few guys. And
I was thinking of maybe going over to that game Saturday afternoon and then maybe doing some of it then. Mm-hmm. So I don't have to bother them and bring them up to the press box, and they'd rather be having a beer somewhere.
Yeah. Right.
You know.
Who were, if you can remember, who were the best guys on that team to interview to get on the air?
Tony Hrkac was horrible.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, he's a shy guy, right? And
now, I had him on another show last year by phone. Couldn't shut him up.
Really?
Went overtime. He was great talking about everything.
Yeah.
And he was not in college. He was not a very good interview at all. Bobby Joyce was a good interview.
And Belfour's another introverted type.
Yeah. Didn't say much. Ian Kidd was quite lively, good interview. Mel Parks was a good interview. Murray Barron, no good. I don't think Cobra was really a good interview, and I don't think I really ever had a chance much to interview Jeff Bowen.
Poke English in North Battleford, Saskatchewan.
That's right. Was Sparrow on that team too? Grant Paranika?
I don't know if he was. They're from the same hometown, though, right?
No. So, I mean, there's some guys that, well, yeah, you know that. Remember Russ Parent, however. He'd stand on the ice and doing a post-game interview with him, and I'd be on the bench. I'd have to go out on the ice because as soon as you put the mic at him, you start backing up. and pretty soon you had to go walking out and almost halfway across the rink.
Chasing him around
the blue line. He didn't really want to talk, and he was bashful besides. So.
I'm not sure with those four coaches, I'm not even sure I'd need to interview a player. Just hit record and lay the mic down in the coach's office.
Oh, yeah, in the office that'd be a whole nother story, right?
Well, beyond this weekend, and then we have Minnesota coming in for the first time in a long time. So the joint will be jumping for that one.
Yeah.
I went into the locker room this summer. I don't remember why, but I was down there and I walked in and Willanen was there. He said, "What's the date of Minnesota?" We're looking at it already. This was like July.
Yeah.
And that was top of his mind already.
Not exactly music to a coach's ears.
No. That's what I'm a little concerned about this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you know what? How big of a rivalry can it be to most of those guys?
I think they just feel it walking around town.
They must. I mean, especially to the young guys.
And that's all they're going to be asked about next week is the rivalry, and especially the kids from Minnesota.
It's kind of like football. If UND plays NDSU, nobody's ever played them probably. Is it really a rivalry to those players? It is certainly to the fans.
Yeah.
And this will certainly be a rivalry to the fans. I don't know so much about. And I think now they know a lot of those guys anyway, have played with them or played against them before anyway. So.
Well, here's how you know it's a big rivalry. Outside of that, I mean, what's it been, 12 years since the Holy Cross deal? And I still hear people, I'm going to wear my Holy Cross stuff to the game. Well, that was 12 years ago. The guys playing on the ice were 6 when that game was played. Think about that.
So was Folsky.
That was kind of like Trinidad Tobago beating the U.S. in soccer, wasn't it?
Oh, did that disappoint you? Are you a soccer fan?
No. But I didn't care, and I thought, in fact, I just kind of chuckled. And then I found out from Paul that Trinidad Tobago is the dregs of the soccer world.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And I thought not only did they lose to them with a chance to go to the World Cup, they lost to the worst team in the history of teams.
And then I heard the U.S. was complaining about the condition of the field, like it was a muddy pitch.
Well, they had to play on the muddy field, and Trinidad
pitch.
Tobago got to play on a good field.
Exactly right, yeah.
Their mutters were mutters.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't even bring that up to Paul this week.
It's a hot button topic.
I can't talk crap about that stuff because then I just get you just moved back to Canada. It's not even fun to talk crap about that stuff for me.
Well,
is Canada in it?
It's so not
I don't know
great.
anything
I have no idea.
Andrew Pesky was on the show yesterday, and I said, "Are you a soccer fan?" He said, "Is that a sport?"
I actually texted a former soccer coach and asked him, "Is this a big deal? U.S. didn't make it?"
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah, it's
that
like
much.
UND hockey not making the NCAA tournament." I was like,
"Oh, it's worse than that."
There will be referendums on the whole governing
Did you see
body.
the guy on ESPN?
He said this is Fire Hacksaw times 10.
I haven't watched it yet, but I saw it make the rounds
it's
on my
good.
timeline.
It's a good rant. Really a good rant.
How were Pesky and Bass the other morning? It was like pulling teeth trying to wrangle a couple guys this week.
Bass was a little. I mean, he just didn't have a lot to say. I think he will if you form the right questions or whatever to him. And Pesky's good in the interview, I think, for the most part.
I did a group text of about 10 veterans asking for a volunteer. Told them they can pick their freshmen if they want, if we only find one veteran, and crickets for hours. Rhett Gardner responded first, and then he had a class. He couldn't make it. But then I got a text after practice from Pesky saying, I just remembered I owe you one from last year. He was supposed to be on last year, set his alarm for PM or forgot to set his alarm and no-showed. So he jumped on the grenade for me this week.
Doesn't mind being there.
Cam said he was pulling senior rank for once, and Cam rarely says no, so he's allowed. We ask a lot of him publicly and media-wise, but a lot of them actually have 8 a.m. classes because they need their afternoons free.
Right. Bubs didn't come in and stand behind him.
Oh, he's standing in line at Starbucks at 8 a.m.
Did you see his head now?
No.
Took a puck in the eye last.
I heard about that. You guys were talking about that.
5 stitches.
Deflection or what happened?
It's really going to be black. He didn't say. Well, he said, I know who shot it. And I don't know if it...
We'll find out when the lineup comes out Friday.
At the main rink or at the Olympic sheet?
Be on the main
Must have
rink.
been here. On the main rink, I mean. I would guess, that's such a dangerous spot,
well,
too.
We were watching morning skate in Anchorage on Friday, and Dane Jackson's ripping around out there, screening the goalie, deflecting point shots.
Maybe, too.
No pads on, no gear. They're just maniacs.
Standing right in front of the goalie. Maybe screening the goalie and trying to deflect pucks and getting no gear on.
They're a different breed. I remember Fabian's gear didn't make it last year. He's out there in a suit. I would have just said, you know what, Coach, I'm going to sit this one out. He's out there.
You can't pass that up.
up.
That's the complete opposite of Dan Sinkbeal wearing his jock outside his sweatpants at morning skate in Bemidji.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Minnesota will be fun next week.
Yeah, I haven't seen, I like catching up with Frank Mazzacco and those fellas. They're good folks. Yeah. Contrary to popular opinion.
Contrary to the
well, he does radio for them now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I might have him on and ask him, say, did you really think North Dakota started every fight that ever... And according to him, when he was on the TV...
Oh, yeah.
Look at that dirty cheap shot.
Every year with them, yeah?
Yeah, happens every time.
We have so little information on both teams. I'm just curious how both teams will match up against each other. I think Minnesota's probably got a few more of the high-end guys, and we keep hearing about UND's depth. So
Minnesota should be pretty good. And they usually are really good in the early part of the season, too. That's kind of the scary part for me. They sometimes catch up to them a little bit in the second half. But
have people hit you up trying to find tickets on the cheap? Or
not on the cheap.
Just tickets, period?
There are no tickets on the cheap for that.
No, there aren't. I have 2 tickets each night, and I'm going to have to, I don't know which son I'm going to sell to pay for them.
Yeah.
Because they're not cheap.
No,
imagine that. I was looking in Anchorage, the season ticket in the red padded seats, which was the first level between the blue lines, $350 for a season ticket.
For the whole year. Yeah, and then they had a 7-game pack. I think it was $49 or something. I saw.
And I think it was only $150 for the upper level for general admission for a season.
You just do that, move down to the lower level once you get there.
Why not?
That was disappointing with the ECHL team no longer being there. I thought there'd be a little bump in attendance, and it didn't seem any different.
I think Brad Schlossman was right. That's the most UND fans I've seen there.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, we met a guy at lunch on Thursday. Yeah. Lives in the bush, literally, in Alaska. Made the 5-hour drive in to catch the games. I guess that would have been lunch Friday. 1978 UND alum. They're everywhere. They're in the bush in Alaska.
Coming out of the bush. Because he was 5 hours away. Anyway.
Well, yeah. Should we order some saucy chicken here and do our thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready to eat.
Tim, thanks for joining us. We'll see you in the booth on Friday night. Thanks for being our plan B.
And for
handling that with
I would even be your plan
humility.
C if I needed it.
We tried to rope Mark Poolman in now that he's an NHL dad and talk about Tucker and talk about his career and some of the
How about that, huh?
crazy stuff he's dealt with. Yeah,
How about that?
You've known Tucker literally his whole life.
Yeah, it's man, I tell you, I went back and read the article Brad Schlossman.
Isn't that amazing?
Bro. And I mean, I had a tear in my eye.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and especially when you know the people.
Yep.
And what great people Mark is and his mother Leanne, and I mean they're just. And Colton I met for the first time 2 years ago, and what a gentleman. And then we found out he truly is just the same. And Tucker is about his. I mean, what a great family and what a great story for a kid of perseverance. My goodness.
They're all very easygoing, but they take their work very seriously.
Exactly. Yeah, and don't get wound up about things.
Yeah, and the most impressive part of that whole journey is where Tucker was literally going to hang up the skates if that one last tryout didn't work.
Yep.
And he was enrolled in school, and it worked. And then months after having both damn shoulders operated on, he's in the NHL. It boggles my mind.
And who was Brad? Barry said that he thought that it was as much Tucker's character why Winnipeg drafted him. Mm-hmm. You know, said that's a high pick for a team to take on a kid in that situation.
Yeah.
He said, but he said had as much to do with his character as it did with his talent. The kind of guy they want on that team.
It's a good testament. Yeah.
And we learned at the press conference yesterday too. Brad Barry was asked about Tucker's academics and graduating in 3 years before he left. Coach, and I didn't know this. Coach Barry said his final summer prior to his junior year, he took 12 credits. One summer course is a big load in the summer because you're there, I don't know if it's 3-4 days a week for that one class. He took a full semester basically in one summer to make sure he got the degree on his way out. It's
a great story. And I hope he stays healthy.
Absolutely.
I miss having the beast on our team, but
yeah, he cured a lot of ails at times.
He could do about everything, right?
Yeah. All right, Tim, thanks again for joining us. See you upstairs Friday, and enjoy that reunion with the 87 boys.
What's happening here?
What are you doing to my cord?
I'm getting off it.
Get off.
Did you push the red button yet?
Powell thinks this lunch is free, doesn't he? You going to break it to him?
I'm not saying.
Thanks again for the crew of Buffalo Wild Wings for taking great care of us. I'm going to rattle off the daily food specials. Monday, 2-for-1 burgers. Tuesdays, half-price traditional wings. Wednesdays, $15.99 any wing Wednesday.
What is that?
Served as a small traditional wings or small boneless wings with a side of fries. Reorders of wings come in quantities of 5. Reorders of fries come as a side order.
Wait, it's all you can eat?
So I don't know. Yeah, I think so.
I like that.
For dine-in only, no sharing. Thursday, 70-cent boneless wings. Sunday, kids eat for $1.99. Also, 50% off one food item on Sundays with your college ID from 9 p.m. to midnight. That's our friends at Buffalo Wild Wings. We will eat.
Yeah, let's eat.